This is the Young Cuff playlist. It's DJ Picho, and you just heard El Roto by Grupo Firme, Dear Mama by Tupac, Middle Child by J. Cole, and Be Thankful for What You Got. And that set of music right there, it takes me back to a different chapter of my life, a sort of darker one that involves me having to go live with my mom in a certain area or neighborhood that I wasn't welcome. Now, at this point in my life, I had gone through a change. I was no longer that kid that used to follow my dad around, and I was following a whole different crowd. So at this time, I think it was like '06, I was still living with my dad and my grandma. Everybody else had moved out, but I remember on this particular morning, I decided to ditch school, and good thing I did. So on this day, I get up, I crease up my Ben Davis, throw on my shirt, my shoes, and my homies were gonna come pick me up, but I decided, you know what, I'm gonna just get a couple more minutes of sleep. So as I laid down, I closed my eyes, I started thinking all these things in my head, right? So I ended up drifting off into sleep. And then out of nowhere, I awake, my lungs are burning, my eyes are burning, I can't breathe, I can't even see in front of me. So as I look around, it was smoke everywhere. My room was in the garage. It was like a room built inside of the garage with a door leading out. And I run out, and there I see it. There is flames coming up from the garage. So I run inside through the front door and I go get my grandma. My grandma, we don't call her grandma, we call her Amadora. So I tell her, Amadora, despiértate, la casa se está quemando. That means wake up, let's go. The house is burning down. So as I lead her out and we go into the front street, I kind of start thinking, you know, like, where are the firefighters at? Why haven't they responded yet? I get so frustrated, I almost want to cry. But I think back to what my dad used to tell me, like, you're a man. So I tell myself, I'm a man, I got this. So I run around the house and I locate the origin of the flames. And it was in the garage. I guess the water boiler somehow started the fire. So I open the garage door, I hook up a few hoses, and I go in there and I start spraying. In the midst of all this, I guess the neighbors finally called the fire department. So when they show up, I'm like, cool. So I back up and I let them do their thing. After it was all over, the firefighters told me, did you really just hook up a hose and start fighting the fire yourself? Good job, kid. That was dangerous, but good job. If you wouldn't have done that, they said the whole house would have gone up in flames. And after this fire, it was like a beginning of my life starting to burn down. I remember I ended up calling my mom, and she ended up pulling up, and she told me, son, I'm proud that you were able to take action when you needed to. So that also stood with me, and I was like, man, I overcame this obstacle. I could overcome other obstacles too. So I remember around this time, my dad had to go to Mexico for a while. It was something about some land his uncle had left him. But my grandma being so worried about him going made me believe otherwise. So my pops, he didn't want to leave us alone. One of his sisters, my aunt at the time, she had got evicted from her home, along with her spouse and some of my cousins. And my father let them move in with the agreement that they were going to handle the payments. But when he was leaving, he told me, son, this is always going to be your house. Your house. So as time passes, my father returns. Guess what? My aunt and her spouse, they didn't make one payment on the house. So we end up getting evicted. And guess what? They end up packing up and leaving. But me, I'm stuck here. All my belongings, everything I own, locked away in that house, behind the sheriff's padlock. I have nothing. We have nothing. They ruined my father's credit. Everything ruined. Everything up in flames. But you know what? My father, he's a good man. Because even after he came back, I told him, Dad, you're not mad? He told me, no, it's okay. He taught me to never hold a grudge and to always lend a hand when you need one. So now I have to move in with my mom. And like I said, she lived in a particular neighborhood where I was not welcome. I went through all types of stuff that one year living with my mom. But you know what? I learned a lot of good things from her too. My mother was a hard-working woman. At the time that she left my pops, she didn't want nothing from him. Even though she could have been good, she didn't want anything. So when I moved in with her, she was in a one-bedroom trailer, working 2 jobs. This was around the time of the recession. My mom was like my dad's opposite. She was a hard worker. Not to say that my father wasn't, but she was a hard worker in her own way. My mother used to tell me, be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day. We'll get a house one day. But I wasn't patient. I wanted everything. I wanted everything we lost. I remember one day I got busted. It was my first felony for sales and distribution. One thing I forgot to mention was that my sister was like my second mom. In a way, I listened to her more than my actual mom. So when I would get in trouble, my mom would call my sister and tell my sister to scold me. My sister straight up would say, "What are you doing? You don't have to sell drugs to be a high roller. Just be patient. I want you to go to school, get an education. I need you to be my right hand. I have plans for us." I didn't understand it at the time, but as time passed, I did. So next up, I'ma play California by Phantom Planet, right here on the Uncut playlist.